That was a trip through Mugam Shur.
Yes, sir.
And if anybody has any questions, of course, this is not a concert. This is a friendly gathering. So if you want to satisfy some curiosity about who I am or what I do or what I just did, I know you're going to answer a question. But full disclosure now, you're a student of Imam Yar Hassanov, the great Comanche virtuoso.
Well,
Yes?
I don't know. South California.
Okay.
Now, was that spontaneous or improvised, or was that a piece that you've done?
Excellent question. We have classical core mugams that we have to learn and imitate exactly the way the teacher teaches us. And then we learn, as it sinks in over time, we learn that mugam can be flexible. I had the great fortune of having several teachers, and every one of them insisted that the mugam went a certain way and not the other way I learned before. And they were all incredible musicians. So, each one has their own school, and they tend to get a little rigid. I got lucky because I was able to have a series of teachers on Comanche and on tar. And they all had a different point of view of mugam, a little bit, and they all learned the what we call the skeletal core of each mugam differently. So I was able to vector into the I would call it the source point. And the source point, I've given it a name. I call it the syntax of mugam. And why? Because mugam, as you see, has no rhythm to it. There's no time signature. There's no click track. There's no meter, no beat, right? What does that mean? It means, well, how do I know when to play the note if I don't have a beat to follow? And it's just like language. The same structure that language has, which is, of course, when we speak if we do poetry, there's a meter to it. But prose, free speech, has no meter. And so mugam is like that. And the syntax of mugam is very, very similar or reminiscent of a form of speech we call declamatory speech, the telling of epic legends. The hero went here and he did this. So there's a kind of an impulse behind the syntax of mugam, and of course it takes years and years to get that. And those notes, the when to the notes, have to be just as intended as the microtones, or they make no sense. Does that make sense, eh?
Can you write this down?
No, you must never write it down.
You have to
That's the
memorize.
death of all Eastern music, is to put notations to it. Because what you do is you're putting a barrier between the living substance of the sound and the place in you that it has to be played from. So, throw those books away, quick.
Well, there are no
Oh,
books.
good. There are. Don't look at them. Yes, sir.
This instrument looks surprisingly like a lute.
Yes, doesn't it? It absolutely does. The theory is that during the Crusades, not on the way there, they were busy at the mission, but on the way home, when they were wandering around with nothing to do, they also passed through the same territory, which is now called Turkey, and Arabia, of course. And so they brought with them, these kind of musical instruments. And this oud, which actually happens to be a Turkish oud made in Istanbul, was the prototype for the very first early lutes. And then they widened the fretboard, put gut frets on it because they wanted to play chords, because it was European music, and it became what we now call the lute. Some people think lute means l'oud, but I don't think so. I think lute means to play in Latin, so that's a coincidence. Although the word oud is an interesting word. That's very interesting, because oud in Arabic means wood. Actually, to be